Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Didi. I am a South African living in New York City, and on this channel I share my inner world outwardly. I share the way in which I am changing over the years and evolving, and I also share my perspective on the world. I am absolutely blown away by how many people have decided to join me on this channel. You are so very much welcome. Just imagine that I'm throwing confetti and helium balloons and just celebrating the fact that you are here. You are so welcome here. And at some point I would love to do like a get to know me, but that's coming down the line. Today, I was just thinking about what would I like to share about some of the experience of living here. And I was thinking about like some of the things that were really surprising and shocking when I first moved here, because I thought that moving to New York would not be such a big difference in terms of culture, but there were a lot of differences. So the number one thing is exactly what I just said, the culture shock. I literally felt like because we in South Africa are exposed to American music, American movies and books and media, basically, I now understand that that's entertainment. I thought that it wouldn't be hard for me to integrate and to just kind of slip into New York, right? But actually it was hard. There were a lot of differences. One of the differences was the pace. Everything here is so much faster. Like I literally feel like, I don't feel like that now. Obviously the things that I'm sharing now, it's like my first year of living here, the things that were really shocking. But the pace, I just feel like people walk much faster. People also kind of talk fast. And there's just a pace of like, we're trying to go somewhere. Even when you see people walking, you can see people are walking with determination. You know, there's no faffing. Of course, there's people who are tourists who are in New York for like a different reason than the rest of us. And those people are obviously walking slowly. They're looking in the shop windows. But you can also tell the difference between those people and the people who live here. So the pace was like a big thing that was like really surprising. Another thing was like New York, especially before COVID, because I moved here in 2017. Well, I came 2017 to visit and actually literally like properly moved here in 2018. But the city used to be so full, so packed, and I think it's getting back to that level again, that like you would bump into people all the time. Like if you didn't bump into people walking from one block to the next, I lived in the East Village at some point for school, it was really weird if you weren't. And the thing is, you're bumping into so many people, like literally you're bumping shoulders that you don't even apologize. Like I remember the first few times people bump into me and I was just like, so rude. And then I became a New Yorker and I was like, we don't have time to be apologizing. You can see also how busy it is. It's obviously not on purpose. We're all trying to get somewhere. Oops, too bad, so sad, next, right? The other thing that was like really shocking in terms of like a cultural difference is greetings. Guys, you know, to me, a greeting is the most basic form of acknowledging another human being. I remember when I got my first job, which was very exciting because at that time I was dirt broke. When I say dirt broke, I mean I was jumping over, wait till naked jump on my fence to get to the train. You know those turnstiles? I became very good at hopping over them. I also had a system of figuring out which train station to be waiting at so that I can get in when the people come out so that I can still get to school on time. Like it was rough. I need to tell you about my studying experience. Like I actually feel like it has been very difficult to live here financially and just like getting by. And it's literally been like, I feel like the last 2 years is the time that I've started feeling like, okay, I'm a person now and I can breathe and I can walk and I can just exist without being stressed about everything. And I still stress. But it took me 5 years to stabilize. And of those 5 years, I studied for 2.5. And the studying portion was the roughest experience that I could not have even anticipated or expected. Even if somebody had told me it was going to be that rough, I wouldn't have believed them and I wouldn't have expected to experience what I experienced. It was hard, okay? And actually, there's a lot of people who write to me to ask me, hey, I'm trying to come overseas to study, because I also studied in Sweden a long time ago and I did a crowdfunding campaign. So a lot of people reach out to me to be like, hey, how did you, fundraise? Can you give me some tips? And there's a big part of me that wants to say, don't do it. Like literally, I just want to be like, spare yourself the trouble. And I want to do a proper breakdown, thoughtful video about what my actual response is to people who want to come study overseas. The short version is, if you can do a bachelor's at home, do a bachelor's at home. And then do the extras, the cherry on top, the master's somewhere else, if you want to. And also, I wanted to add here, I'm going off on a tangent, which is what I'm really good at. The education system in South Africa is really good. I'm surprised that I actually forgot to put it in there in my previous video where I talked about the things that I love about South Africa. But really, our education system is good. One other thing that I'll add here is, when I was studying in my application process, because all universities here require you to share all the information of the places that you studied before you came here, whether you like it or not, and then you send it to another, like a body called, I think it's called WES, WES, that converts the credits from your home country or the country that you studied, and it transfers them to the university that you're going to be in. And I was about to not do that because I was about to give up on it and be like, it's so expensive. And they were like, no, you have to do it. And I'm so grateful that they forced me to do it. Do you know how many credits I got from UNISA? Guys, 40 credits. 40 credits. And that actually meant that it was going to cut the time that I was going to study in almost half. So guys, put some respect on UNISA's name, hey? Put some respect on UNISA's name. Really, it is responsible for me finishing my degree here, because if it wasn't for that, there is no way, like I cannot see a way that I would have been able to afford, because I was already scraping by, through scholarships, through loans, through working. Guys, I had 3 jobs at some point. So all of that to say, really think twice before you want to come study here. But in any case, it was really, really difficult. And I'm going back to my straight line story of the greeting thing, right? So I got my first job on campus, very exciting. And on my first few days, I'd come in and I'd greet everybody. The receptionist was always really nice. She always used to greet back. And then when I'd be walking in and greeting other people, 70% of the people would not greet back and 30% of the people would greet. It got to a point where even if I was in the office and other people were coming in, it was hit or miss whether or not you were going to get a greeting. Most of the time, people were not greeting. And I just found that so odd, And then actually, it ended up changing to a point where I kind of took on that culture in that office where I didn't greet when I came into the office, And in winter, it was so much easier to just come in and not greet, because I was already just unhappy with the fact that it's snowing and it's cold and it's wet outside. So that was really a big culture shock. Right. The other thing that really, really shocked me was, people often say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And I just used to kind of roll my eyes because I thought it was just a saying. But I will confidently say that I can see what people mean by that. And this is part of what I just said before. Studying here was hard. Working here has been hard. Living here has been difficult as well, because the cost of living is unreal. I actually was making research about what the number one most expensive city is, and Zurich just overtook New York last year, December 2023. Now New York is number 2, and it's tied with some other place. Let me see here. I took a picture of it. New York used to be number 1, and now it's tied with Geneva, which is also in Switzerland. Makes a lot of sense. But that should give you an idea of how difficult it is to be here and how expensive things are, and the things that you have to do to survive. Guys, at some point, I was packing boxes, guys, in a factory. Yeah? Ke bereka ko a warehouse, ko factory, ke le busy. Yeah? Every morning. Going to the factory, packing boxes during COVID. I'm not going to tell you the company that I worked for. I'll tell you later. And 12-hour days, okay? With a 30-minute break and 2 15-minute breaks. Or a 30-minute break and 1 15-minute break. I don't remember what the breakdown was, but I just remember being like, I need to call labor law in South Africa here. This is not right. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, but yeah, I do feel like I understand now what people mean by if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, because the hustle, the level of hustle that people have here is like pretty intense. I will say that in South Africa, I was always aware of people who were hustling. Like my own mother had like 3 jobs, 4 jobs, you know. I know a lot of people in the neighborhood that I grew up in. As I've said before, I grew up in Garangua, and in a lot of different townships where people used to have multiple jobs because we had to get by. And actually, that's one of the things that I used to hate hearing about South Africa. People like to say that South Africans are lazy, and I really despise hearing that because I don't believe that's true. I think South Africans have a great work ethic. The only thing is we don't want you to trample on us. You want us to work for what? 8 rand an hour. Get out of here. So I think South Africans have a great work ethic and we understand our value. So don't pay us trash. You know what I mean? But in any case, I think South Africans that I've met, especially because I grew up in the hood, a lot of the people that I met used to work really, really hard. So this idea of hustling, I know that people say that like, I feel like the difference that makes the hustling here seem more intense is that because there's a 24-hour transport system that actually functions relatively well, it means that you have the possibility of working 24 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? In South Africa, I feel like you have to have your own car if you want to really take advantage of working all hours of the day. And here, like I remember one day, and if I'll find the picture, I'll put it here. Editing is kind of like not my favorite part of this process because I have a full-time job, you know. So sometimes I feel like, I'm just gonna upload the video. But if I can find the picture, I'll do it. And basically, the picture is of I'm coming back from school on one of these hectic days, and it's like 2:30 a.m. in the morning. I'm in the train, but the train is packed. Please understand me when I say people are standing. People have their backpacks. People are coming from work. Some people are going to work. At the time I lived in Bed-Stuy, it was full. The train was full at like 2:30 in the morning. Okay. And that really just gave me a sense of also feeling like camaraderie, like, wow, we're in this together. Like all of us are hustling. All of us are trying to make it work. And I also feel like this idea of like, oh, if you can make it here, you can make it anyway, only applies to people who are low income. Those of us who were struggling financially, it's for us that I think that saying goes. Because if you have money, New York is a breeze, okay? And I've had a glimpse into some of those worlds. I'm like, yo, so this is how some people are living, you know? Penthouse suites, hey? Champagne for breakfast. Like some people are living like that. People have yachts here. There's a yacht yard that I saw the other day. You know, so I think if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere is really just for those people who have been struggling financially. And I also will say that as somebody who grew up in the hood, that combination of having grown up in the hood, Kokasi, and then coming to New York, now you really feel you can. Because in any case, growing up in the hood or growing up in a low income community already makes you resourceful. It requires resourcefulness. So when you have that combination of growing up in a space where you had to make things happen, make things work, and then you come to a place where you are getting whipped, not whipped as in with a whip, but like whipped as in like think about whipped butter, like that. Like everything is just moving so fast, you know, and you're just churning in this thing. That combination makes it that you feel you can make it anyway. And I literally feel like that about myself. Like plop me anywhere and I'll figure it out, you know, in terms of work and like making a life. And then the last thing, and this one is kind of a heavier one, right? I think that the third thing that really, really shocked me was gaining an understanding of what it means to be a Black minority in the United States. I understood the Black American experience in as far as I had consumed it from media/entertainment. I'm also somebody who's quite politically aware and politically active. I used to watch the news from a very young age because I was in one of those households where my dad used to watch the news in all the languages. Dikgang, Dinis, Izindaba, Indaba, Didaba, Bona. My dad loved consuming the news. And so that also was something that I guess I started to value because I grew up in a home like that. And I thought that I had an understanding and a grasp of what it meant to be a Black American. I did not. I did not. And it really, what it took for me to gain the understanding that I now have and I'm still learning is making a dedicated, concerted effort to actually make research, listen to people's stories, get to know people. I actually joined the Black Student Union at the university that I was at, because I realized that like the best way that I was going to integrate the learning and fully understand the lived experience, not just the history book experience, was by meeting other people who were living that experience and listening to their stories and meeting their families and spending time with them, you know. And I got to go to Yale for the Black Student Union's like annual, I hope it's an annual, like coming together of the student unions from different universities. And that is one of the most shaping experiences that I've had in the United States since moving here. I learned so much. I learned and saw so much. Like I felt like I was a sponge. And also, please remember that I'm one of those people who went to university quite late in my life. Like I started studying when I was 29 years old. I turned 30 in my first year of studying. So I want you to know that like... in as much as it can come across as something embarrassing, I mean, we're all always learning things at some point in our lives and we never stop learning. But that experience of studying here and of getting to know people through the Black Student Union really was life-changing for me. And I think it's really helped me build, because I've always had empathy for black Americans and the Black American experience, but I think it's deepened it, and there's also like a deep respect that I have, and I've always had one, but it's just deepened it and intensified all the respect and empathy and love and care and like admiration that I had for Black Americans for making it in this country, given the history that they've had, you know, being brought here out of their own will, dying on their way here, facing inhumane, brutal circumstances when they did eventually arrive here, and then years and years and years of subjugation and just subhuman treatment to still be existing in this place, not just existing but thriving, for being the torchbearers of culture in so many ways, exporting culture that they created from scratch. I mean, yeah, some people might say not from scratch because it's in our veins, you know, the music, the culture, all that stuff. But you know what I mean. I hope you know what I mean. And so, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of layers to the Black American experience and the Black American history. And I am humbled by how much I constantly learn. The other thing I wanted to add here is that I've always had this opinion, and I think I want to share it here as well, because I shared it in another video where I was talking about a book that I was reading. But I feel a deep sense of gratitude for Black Americans for carving a way for someone like me, who was not born in this country, to be able to come here, feel relatively safe, and to build a life here, to even feel that it's an option for me. I really do bow my head to the people who came before me, who were not directly from my lineage or not directly from my culture, who didn't know that someone like me would eventually live here, who've made it so that it's possible. And inversely, I think there's also a deep respect that I have for Black South Africans, because it was all different cultures. But I think it was particularly difficult for Black people, so I'll speak to that, who, you know, fought during apartheid to a point where other people from other countries, like there's a lot of Black Americans who are coming to live in South Africa. There's a lot of people from the Caribbean. I meet a lot of Jamaican people who are like, I'm trying to go to South Africa to live there. And this is only possible because people who came before us, you know, took on the responsibility of eradicating, you know, discrimination, subhuman treatment, inequality, apartheid, you know, on the basis of race. And so I just feel a lot of gratitude. Like my heart actually feels like it's swelling with pride when I think about the resilience of the human spirit, what's capable when we come together as a collective to see a new world, see a new way of existing in the world. And yeah, I just feel really proud to be Black. You know, I didn't know I was going to end here in my conversation, but really I have such a deep respect and admiration for people who have died at the hands of people with hate in their hearts, people who were unable to tolerate others and make space to be shared with others, people who lacked humanity, who have done what they've done so that I can live here, so that you can live in South Africa, so that we can, so that the world can expand for all of us, so that we can feel that we can be in many different places and exist and thrive. And I'm very grateful. I had another one, but I just feel like this is a beautiful place to stop. Have you been to the US? Have you been to other parts of the world? What are the things that shocked you the most when you got there? You know, are you someone who's gone to South Africa? What are the things in South Africa that shocked you the most about the country? Once again, thank you for joining me. I'm so happy to have you here, and I look forward to having many discussions together. And please use the comment section responsibly. I love engaging in perspectives even that don't mirror my own, but I am only able to do that if I'm met with respect, the same respect that I like to give. Thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have a wonderful day further. Goodbye.